Hello, Kathy. How are you doing?
Hello there. So we are live from South America. What
Yeah, we
country are
are.
you in?
I am in Colombia, in Cartagena.
Colombia.
I,
Are they
I,
on the
I
same time frame as we are? What time is it in Colombia?
in Colombia is let me see, it's 6:21.
So they're an hour behind us. I guess they didn't go on daylight savings time.
No, they didn't. Actually,
Mhm.
in Cartagena is you know all the seasons are almost the same. It's just level of humidity, but it's hot, and I think I am losing weight, so to speak. Yes. But here we are. We apologize for the inconvenience to some of the audience. There's maybe some people that connect at 7. But here we are, you know, keep going forward with the plan of delivering these presentations. Our apologies for, for being late. Um, all right, Kathy. So we are almost finishing the Enneagram uh, studies that allow us to uh, sort of have an understanding of the personality traits that hopefully it will help us to understand ourselves more and understand the others more. Um, and we sort of um, figured it out that we may have different traits, right? One is more dominant than the other. And here we are uh, just elaborating the two last personality traits. And maybe at the end, we can have like a quick summaries for the people that are watching this video for the first time. All right, let's go.
Let's go. We're up to type 8, the challenger, the powerful, dominating type, self confident, decisive, willful, and confrontational. I've known a few of those.
Okay.
Challengers are self confident, strong, and assertive, protective, resourceful, straight talking, and decisive, but can also be egocentric and domineering. They feel they must control their environment, especially people, sometimes becoming confrontational and intimidating. Challengers typically have problems with their tempers and with allowing themselves to be vulnerable. At their best, oh, go back one. There they are. At their best, self mastering, they use their strength to improve others' lives, becoming heroic, magnanimous, and inspiring. They want to be self reliant, to prove their strength and resist weakness, to be important in their world, to dominate the environment, and to stay in control of their situation. They have enormous willpower and vitality, and they feel most alive when they are exercising these capacities to the world. They use their abundant energy to affect changes in their environment, to leave their mark on it, but also to keep the environment and especially other people from hurting them and those they care about. At an early age, challengers understand that this requires strength, will, persistence, and endurance, qualities that they develop in themselves and what they look for in others.
Okay, let's stop there so that we understand this paragraph. And it says, but also to keep the environment and especially other people from hurting them and those they care about. What do they mean on that expression itself?
The environment, I would imagine they're talking about either their family environment or their work environment or any of their social environment, which especially includes people from hurting them and those they care about.
But what is this sentence about from hurting them? Who is hurting them?
Hurting them, well, family members can hurt you, loved ones can hurt you, co-workers can hurt you. You can be in clubs and people in the clubs can hurt you. So they try to control their environment. They like to be in total control of everything in their life, like a
So
John Wayne. John Wayne is a perfect example of this particular personality.
so you will recognize a challenger when he basically want to step aside of that environment. It's like, because it says here, especially other people from hurting them, uh, or those they care about. So,
Mhm.
and then, or those they care about. So people that they care about, you try also to sort of, you know, go away.
Well, remember, friends and loved ones are the ones that hurt us the most, typically. But I think what they're referring to here is if one of their loved ones has somebody hurting them, this challenger is going to jump in and save the day. Like I said, John Wayne.
Okay, okay.
That makes sense?
It makes sense, at least for me partially, because um, and those they care about, like, um, let's say that I care about a friend of mine, right? Um, and I'm gonna be supporting him or leaving him.
If you
So
care
that's it.
about him, you would be supporting him, wouldn't you? But look at the first sentence. It says they use their abundant energy to affect changes in their environment, to leave their mark. So if they are in an environment that they feel needs some changing because it's especially hurting people that they love, then they are going to step in with their Superman cape and they're going to swoop in and save the day.
Got it.
So
Got it.
they use their abundant energy to affect changes in their environment. So if they're not happy with things around them, they want to leave their mark on it. But they also want to make sure that no friends or family are hurt, those they care about.
Got it. Got it.
That
Okay.
makes sense?
That makes sense. I think, you know, for people that are looking at try to understand all of this, I'm just taking that position. All right. All right.
Wait a minute, back up one. We missed a sentence. At an early age, challengers understand that this requires strength, will, persistence, and endurance, qualities that they develop in themselves and which they look for in others. How to appreciate challengers. Challengers are the true rugged individualists of the Enneagram. More than any other type, they stand alone. They want to be independent and resist being indebted to anyone.
What do you mean by resist being indebted to anyone?
They don't want anyone to help them because then they'll feel like they're indebted to that person. I'll take care of this myself. I don't need your help.
Right.
I've known a few of those. Like I said, I keep seeing John Wayne in my mind from what I'm reading here. Sounds just like the image that he always portrayed in his movies.
Got it.
They often refuse to give in to social convention, and they can, excuse me, defy fear, shame, and concern about the consequences of their actions. Although
What,
they are
what,
usually,
what, excuse me the interruption, but you say they often refuse to give in to social convention. Give me an example.
well, let's say that they are invited to a social gathering, and everybody at the social gathering is the men are wearing tuxedos. Well, this guy walks in with a buckskin jacket on and cowboy boots.
I see.
And then he says, I'm not putting on that monkey suit. All the other men can wear it, but not me.
Got it. Okay. Perfect example.
Although they are usually aware of what people think of them, they don't let the opinions of others sway them. They go about their business with a steely determination that can be awe inspiring, even intimidating to others. Although to some extent, challengers fear physical harm, far more important is their fear of being disempowered or controlled in some way. They're the ones, if there's a takeover of their country, they're the ones who are going to stand up and say, we're not going to take this. Come on, guys, we're going to go fight this. They will not be subdued. They are extraordinarily tough and can absorb a great deal of physical punishment without complaint. Double-edged blessing, since they often take their health and stamina for granted and overlook the health and well-being of others as well. Yet they are desperately afraid of being hurt emotionally and will use their physical strength to protect their feelings and keep others at a safe emotional distance. Beneath the tough facade is vulnerability, although it has been covered over by layers of emotional armor. The more challengers build up their egos in order to protect themselves, the more sensitive they become to any real or imaginary slight to their self-respect, authority, or preeminence. The more they attempt to make themselves impervious to hurt or pain, whether physical or emotional, the more they shut down emotionally to become hardened and rock-like.
Okay, let's stop in that paragraph. I think we need to elaborate more on that one. The more they attempt to make themselves impervious to harm or pain. What do you mean by that expression?
The more they attempt to make themselves impervious, in other words, while things are being thrown at them, they're knocking them aside and they have their hands up. Not me, you can't touch me. Not going to get me.
Well, let's put an example. What would be an example?
Well, let's say whether it's physical or emotional. Let's say, for example, that they're married and the wife is telling them, you're never home. You never want to talk. You don't love me. You don't love the kids. This is the man who will turn around and walk out the door. He does not want to face any hurt or pain. So he walks away from it. I've known many men like this. A lot of my girlfriends, their husbands were like this. They don't want to hear it. They shut down emotionally. And of course, once they become a certain age, I've seen this a lot in nursing homes. These are the men that the nurses in nursing homes have a very hard time getting to cooperate. Nobody's going to tell them what to do. Don't tell me I can't watch my favorite movie or play chess. Don't tell me I have to ride in this wheelchair. I can walk on my own. Get away from me. I'm going to walk. That's the personality of this particular person.
Got it. Clear.
When challengers are emotionally healthy, however, they have a resourceful, can-do attitude as well as a steady inner drive. They take the initiative and make things happen with great passion for life. They are honorable and authoritative, natural leaders who have a solid, commanding presence. Their groundedness gives them abundant common sense as well as the ability to be decisive. Challengers are willing to take the heat, knowing that any decision cannot please everyone. But as much as possible, they want to look after the interest of the people in their charge without playing favorites. They use their talents and fortitude to construct a better world for everyone in their lives.
All right. Very interesting.
And you know how to deal with somebody like that? Get them a pet.
Like a pet.
Either get them a dog or a cat. I have seen on so many occasions, Raul, I have seen this very personality type challenger melt. And I have talked to many of my friends whose mother has died and they're trying to take care of their dad, but their dad is like this. I don't need your help. I can cook my own way. La da da. Stay away from me. Every one of them, when they brought their dad a dog, their dad just completely changed. There's just something about the love of an animal that softens the hardest heart. And the challengers can probably have one of the hardest hearts in all of the 9 categories that we've gone through. especially when they get older, because they have built up that self-defense, you know.
Interesting. Interesting.
You know
Oh,
anybody like this?
yeah, I personally identify with so many of the traits on the challenger personality.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's not that I don't like pets. I like pets, but I think I am not good enough to take care of them because of the, my traveling of the space and all that. But I don't know if that's an excuse or just, it's not built yet. Maybe in the future, who knows?
Did you grow up with animals in your family?
Yeah, but every animal, has space. We didn't mix with them, like having our dogs sleeping in our beds, or walking through the dining room or kitchen room. They have their space. It's more like protecting the home or playing with them in the garden.
And see, our animals were our children. Our animals went everywhere with us. They slept at the foot of the bed. They played with us out in the backyard. They were there to greet us when we came home from school, jumping up and down and so happy to see us. And that'll just melt your heart when you see the way animals love their keepers. The hardest heart is melted by the love of an animal. I can tell you that. So it's worked really well in some of these nursing homes.
Very nice. Very interesting.
Everybody
Oh,
needs love, but the challengers have spent a lifetime trying to protect themselves. So it's a hardened shell that needs to be broken down. The best way to do that is with animals. So now we come to the ninth type called the peacemaker. The woman in this picture actually looks like one of my employees, and she was for sure a peacemaker. The easygoing, self effacing type, receptive, reassuring, agreeable, and complacent. Peacemakers are accepting, trusting, and stable. They're usually creative, optimistic, and supportive, but can also be too willing to go along with others to keep the peace. They want everything to go smoothly and be without conflict, but they can also tend to be complacent, simplifying problems and minimizing anything upsetting. They're the ones who throw out the euphemisms. You know, somebody has a hard time and they share with the peacemaker, and the peacemaker says, well, you know what they say, it's always darkest before the dawn, or they always have a euphemism to come back with. So they're the peacemakers. They typically have problems with inertia and stubbornness. At their best, indomitable and all embracing, they are able to bring people together and heal conflicts. They're typically spiritual seekers who have a great yearning for connection with the cosmos as well as with other people. They work to maintain their peace of mind just as they work to establish peace and harmony in their world. The issues encountered in them are fundamental to all psychological and spiritual work, being awake versus falling asleep to our true nature, presence versus entrancement, openness versus blockage, tension versus relaxation, peace versus pain, union versus separation. Peacemaker fear conflict, so becoming self effacing and accommodating, idealizing others and going along with their wishes, saying yes to things they do not really want to do, fall into conventional roles and expectations, use philosophies and stock sayings to deflect others, like I say, begin to minimize problems, to appease others, and to have peace at any price. Stubborn, fatalistic, and resigned as if nothing could be done to change anything, into wishful thinking and magical solutions. Others frustrated and angry by their procrastination and unresponsiveness. They can be highly repressed, undeveloped, and ineffectual, feel incapable of facing problems, become obstinate, dissociating self from all conflicts, neglectful, and dangerous to others. And that's on the downside. They have a lot of good things, but you know what? When they shut down, this is exactly how they become. They just shut down.
Yeah, that's a total shutdown from what I can from what I can see.
Mhm.
Again, I believe this enneagram has been is generalized in many things because I believe everybody has a little bit of everything.
We do.
Yeah,
Mhm. How to appreciate peacemakers. We have sometimes called the peacemakers the crown of the Enneagram because it is at the top of the symbol and because it seems to include the whole of it. They can have the strength of eights, the sense and fun of adventure of sevens, the dutifulness of sixes, the intellectualism of fives, the creativity of fours, the attractiveness of threes, the generosity of twos, and the idealism of ones. However, what they generally do not have is a sense of really inhabiting themselves, a strong sense of their own identity, which a lot of that comes from their childhood. It's programming from childhood. Ironically, therefore, the only type the peacemaker is not like is the nine itself. Being a separate self, an individual who must assert herself against others, is terrifying to nines. They would rather melt into someone else or quietly follow their idyllic daydreams.
yeah. So let's come back one slide and try to decipher all of this for the people that are just watching this video. When we say they can have the strength of AIDS, what we mean the strength of AIDS,
Well, we'd have to go back and look at the ace to see what the
right?
primary goal,
So we
what the primary
so
characteristic of the eight
so
was. Challengers. So the challengers are the ones who stand up for the community and gather everybody together to go fight. So they can have that strength if they get to the point. I remember watching a show where this typical peacemaker was playing a role as a peacemaker. And yet she was called upon to stand up for other people. And she actually stood there and put her hand like a fist. And she said, "All right, we can do this. Come on." So that would be the strength of the number eight. Even though she was the reclusive one and standing behind the crowd, she was put in a position because of what she knew to bring the crowd forward to fight for the crowd. And she stood up to the challenge. It's a good movie.
so basically this is what we are saying here is the peacemakers tends to have some features of the different types of personalities we have developed through the series, right? So that's what we are saying here.
Yeah.
Okay. So
However, what they generally don't have is a sense of really inhabiting themselves. So, like we were talking about when I read this a minute ago, they live in a fantasy world. I remember Danny Kaye. You probably don't even know who Danny Kaye is, do you?
no.
He was a well known actor of the 1950s. He was a comedian. And he played a role which we called him a milk toast. Do you know what that means? A
No.
milk toast? This is the peacemaker. Danny Kaye was the person in the office that everybody walked all over, and everybody came and dumped their work on him and said, "Oh, George will take care of it. He doesn't mind, do you, George?" And George took on all of this extra work. Everybody made fun of him. And yet, George lived in his own world. And the whole movie was about his fantasizing about being with the Crusades or being in the round table with King Arthur or doing battle during the war or something like that. He lived inside his head. So that's what they're talking about.
That's interesting. Well, we finished with the enneagrams, and let's do a quick exercise from 1 to 10. 10 being the the most relevant, the most dominant in our personalities. You say from 1 to 10, what do you think you are, and then I say mine, so that we, sort of help, um, the audience in wrapping this up, because it's a lot of information, right? So hopefully by, uh, placing some punctuation, placing us as an example, it will be easy to, you know remember, right? So I am going one by one, so that we can, look into, the different personality traits, right? So there were many slides, Patty.
Yeah, this particular website had a lot of really good information.
Yeah. So we started with the type one, the reformer, from 1 to 10. What do you think you are?
The reformer, the rational, idealistic type, principled, self-controlled. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably a 5 as a reformer because I can tell you from experience, anytime I went to work for a company, within 6 months, I had revamped the entire structure of simplifying. I had a way of simplifying the workload. So, what normally took hours and hours to do, I was able to reform it down to about an hour or so. So, and I love movies that have to do with reformers as well. So, I think I have a lot of reformer in me. How
Okay.
about you?
I think I am a good four here. Good four. Yeah. All right. So we have reformers. Then what about the helper?
The helper? Well, I know that I was brought up to believe I'm supposed to help people. My sister and I used to take our bath, put on our nightgown, and go across the street and sleep with an elderly woman in her spare bedroom in case she needed help in the middle of the night. So I was brought up to believe in helping others. And I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I have to say I have probably gone over and above, and people have taken advantage of me. So I would probably say that I'm probably a 6 or a 7.
Yeah. On this one, I am a 7.
Yeah. We try to help everybody, but sometimes I'm in my 70s now and I'm realizing you can't help everybody. The achiever, now I never was focused on achieving. There are certain people who say, I'm going to go to college and take these courses, and this is what I'm going to become because in my 5-year plan of action, I'm going to be the president of the company. And I have seen these people. I have managed these people when I managed a mortgage company. The achiever, the self success oriented. And what I found was if you can ever get them to work together as a team, I think I told you about the experience where we had 10 loan officers and some were doing very well and others were not. So I asked my boss if we could have a contest. And if every one of the loan officers closed $1 million in mortgage loans in 1 month, then we would take them and their family and all of our support staff on a cruise, a 3-day cruise. And of course, he freaked out about it until he realized how much money he would make if every single one of the loan officers closed $1 million. Do you realize how much that was? They close a million times 10, that's $10 million in 1 month's closing. And my
Wow.
boss was going to get at least 2% profit from that.
Wow.
So, because of that, I was able to get the high achievers who bragged all the time to help the ones who were maybe not as accomplished because they all wanted the cruise. And of course, two things happened. First of all, the high achievers who used to put the other little guys down enjoyed helping them so much that it became natural to them from then on. The ones who never closed a million, it became their standard. From that month forward, they all closed a million. So that was a way of getting the achievers to work with the not so successful ones.
Interesting.
And you know what's really interesting? When achievers help people, I I have to be honest with you, Raul. I was quite surprised at the changes in some of these overachievers because they enjoyed the helpful part so much that they ended up going out and helping other people. This is how you get a mortgage, how you get qualified. I mean, it was truly amazing. I know I was guided by God to do that. And it just did so much good for me to see how they responded, to tell you the truth. But me personally, I would say I might be maybe a three. I've always been very successful from the first job I ever had, but it wasn't because I set out to be that way, because I just like helping people. What
Got it.
about you?
I think I am a five here.
I'm probably a three.
Okay. Now we go to the individualistic.
Sensitive, withdrawn, expressive, dramatic, self absorbed, and temperamental. I would say that I probably would be a four on that because I like spending time alone. I always have, even as a child. I tend to be self absorbed when I spend too much time alone. And of course, Gary, my partner, calls me a drama queen sometimes. So, as
Yeah,
far as individuals, I'd say I'm probably six, probably a six.
six. Okay. I am here. I am also six here. Maybe seven.
Mhm.
Seven. Okay. So individualistic. There's the
The
investigator.
investigator. Oh, I like investigating. I run a mortgage training institute, and there are so many federal regulations and so many rules and regulations. You've got loan programs, you've got to know the guidelines, and I really love digging in and finding all of that information. And I really like to challenge when there was something somebody would email me or call me, one of my underwriters that I trained, and they had an issue and they didn't know how to handle it. And I just love digging in. So I would say I'm probably an eight as an investigator.
Yeah, I am a seven here.
Mhm.
All right. Let's see with the next one. The next one is the
The loyal.
loyalist.
Yes. I am very loyal. I would have to say that I'm probably a nine. Committed, security oriented, engaging, responsible, anxious, and suspicious. I have always been very loyal to my friends and always had a difficult time understanding how quickly people would just drop you. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah,
Just
it
at the
happens to me.
drop of a hat, they hear one little rumor about somebody and bam, they just walk away.
Mhm.
And I never could do that. I think it's because I had a wonderful mother who taught me to always look at all sides before I made that decision.
Right.
So I think I'm probably a nine as a loyalist. How about
Great.
you?
I am an eight. On loyalist, eight. Let's see the next one. The next one is uh,
The
enthusiast. The
enthusiast,
enthusiast. The
the
enthusiast.
busy, fun loving type, spontaneous, versatile, distractible, and scattered. Well, I think I might be a four. I mean, I'm very enthusiastic, but I never was one to run around and slap people on the back and, be the life of the party or anything like that.
I am a four too. But that was an easy one. Let's
Yeah,
do the next one. Um, okay,
the
the
challenger.
challenger.
I have never been one to challenge. I guess what this described was, like I said, I kept seeing the John Wayne figure as the challenger, and I was never that kind unless it just got to the point that I couldn't take it anymore. But mostly for me, rather than confrontation, I would make suggestions. So I think as a challenger, I probably would be a three or four.
Okay, and this one I am high. I am a nine.
You're a nine.
Yeah, Yeah,
You like to challenge, huh?
yeah. Sometimes there's a lot of things about the refuse to give in social convention. That's yeah, it really describes well the peacemaker.
Yeah, the peacemaker. I would think in my younger days, I would have probably been a 9 or a 10 for the peacemaker. But as I grew into adulthood and I got into the business world, what I found was being the peacemaker got me nowhere. Actually, being the peacemaker made me invisible to most people. And I had a voice and I wanted to speak up. So while I tried to be agreeable, if I disagreed with somebody, I would make a point. I didn't yell at them or challenge them. I'm not the challenger type, but I would say, well, you might look at it this way too. What do you think about that? So I would say is the peacemaker. By the time I became an adult, I was a very gawky kid. So I was the peacemaker growing up. In my adult years, I would think maybe a 5.
Yeah, on this one, I am a good 7, good 6, 7,
Yes.
I think 6, 6.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So
So
we made it.
yeah, each one of us has these different personalities. Some are more predominant than other, but all of these personalities are a reflection of God, aren't they, Raul?
Yeah,
And every time I have to tell you, every time I think about God's creation, which is us, we are created in God's image and likeness. And the way God has so beautifully created all of these different personalities to blend together, to work in harmony. Because the fact of the matter is, if all we had was peacemakers, nothing would ever get done. So it's nice that we have challengers who say, come on, we need to do this. So all of these different personality types can learn to work together. And to me, I just give thanks to God for this.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we finished this Enneagram, and I will tell you something. I think was great because it was a very specialized topic that, fortunately, when other, the audience research, there it has a base. We outlined the base for them to understand this better,
And
right?
it's a wonderful website. And I encourage anybody who is interested in this to go back to that. And can you go back to slide number 1?
Yep.
Let's show
Uh,
them the name of the website again, because they did such a beautiful job of creating all of these descriptions of the different personalities.
it's easy to do this. Okay. Wow.
The Enneagram Institute offers a wonderful presentation. Yes. So that particular, if you go to their website, they have a lot of really great information and a lot of more expanded information on all of these types.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the ideas that I have for the next sessions, and this is maybe a homework that you and I need to figure it out. There are great books that that talks about spirituality in detail, right? And I was wondering, uh, maybe it will be good if we elaborate in one of these books and we can like chop it like this one, and so people can understand this better, because one of the challenges that people has when they want to get into spirituality is that it's difficult to comprehend, and because it's difficult to comprehend, the information doesn't flow. They got scared and they don't want to invest time in investigating and researching. And I believe this experience has shown me that when you break this down in pieces, then then we know how to interpret, right? Because at the end, this is like a conversation of friends talking about one specific subject that we are also as well learning, right? But it's just an idea. But
Mhm.
I think it's something that could be interesting to explore.
Well, I have to tell you, Raul, when I made the decision to learn everything I could about spirituality, I knew the church. I'd gone to church my whole life. I was always at church. Even today, I go to church every Sunday. And I appreciate the biblical teachings, but I wanted more. I wanted a relationship with God. And I asked God, I said, God, I'm going to go to the bookstore and I'm going to look at all of the books. And I'm asking for you to make sure that I use discernment and that I get the books that are telling the truth, that are valuable, and not getting off on the wrong track. And I would have books fall off and hit me on my foot. And every one of those books, I would hear God saying, read this book. Like one of them was The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. That's still popular today, written like 60 years ago, 70 years ago. But to understand how the subconscious mind is it works can have a huge impact on helping people become powerful instead of feeling powerless. You know what I'm saying? And there are a
Mhm.
lot of books like that. So different books affect people in different ways.
Yeah, yeah. I think what maybe I would do, and this is just a sharing, and people are hearing us, is like sharing to you and 5 books, and between the five, say, hey, this one is the one that we are going to develop for people. We are going to say we are going to uh, elaborate in this book, and people will say, oh, okay, this book. So we'll talk
Well, I
about
think
that.
one of the ones that people would probably really appreciate is a Wayne Dyer book. You know who Wayne Dyer is, don't you?
Yeah.
Dyer is very well known in the spiritual community. And his book is titled, You Will See It When You Believe It. That is a life changing book because nothing can be manifested unless you actually believe it's possible. So that would be a good book too.
Yeah.
There's lots of
I
good books.
So what do you think about that idea? Worth it?
I'm with me.
Okay.
I've got lots of great books that I would recommend. But remember, people have different personalities. We're making suggestions, and maybe they can also make some suggestions to us too. I'm
Mhm.
always open. If one of my friends says, I just read a great book, I think you would enjoy it. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't, but it
Yeah,
certainly affected them. So we want to find books that will affect them in a very positive way.
absolutely. All right. With that being said, surprise, surprise, we will tell you which book is going to be. We hope that the Holy Spirit will guide us to define that book. I think, it just that idea of the book came to my mind, so it may be a sign. And I think what shows a very complex topic, the Enneagram, brought this because this is something that we have to sort of study a little bit. And while having a conversation, I think we sort of developed that topic. So I think it makes sense. Make things difficult into easy has a lot of value.
Well, it got me thinking. I mean, I created the PowerPoint, and I remember when I was going through its creation, I was thinking, I know somebody who's this, I know somebody who's that. So
Right, right.
I could identify about every personality with somebody I knew.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kathy, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Don't forget that God loves you,
And you
and
matter.
and you matter. All right. Bye.
Take
Take
care. Bye
care.
bye.